Bae,
Yes.
was you really at Tasha's house trying to fight her today?
Was.
And you killed the lady car?
Did.
And told this lady you gonna kill her and her kids?
Am.
Man, you know damn well you ain't gonna kill nobody,
Will.
man.
Shit.
Confident that something's not right. This is not her normal behavior.
They release her and let her come home. We just want her home.
On September 22nd, 2023, Deundrea Ford, a 21-year-old dancer mother, was last seen entering a white Ford Transit outside a Houston strip club. Security cameras recorded the moment. The van remained parked for nearly an hour before driving away. After that, there was no further contact from Deundrea. Her phone stopped transmitting signals. No one heard from her again. A missing persons report was filed. Investigators identified the man last seen with her as 51-year-old Yolan J. Washington. He had a prior criminal record and owned the van. Police impounded the van. Forensic testing revealed blood evidence inside. The DNA matched both Washington and Ford. Still, there was no body, and Washington was not immediately charged with murder. 7 months later, on March 15, 2024, skeletal remains were discovered in a drainage ditch along Luna Road in Dallas, Texas, approximately 240 miles from where Deundrea was last seen. Forensic testing confirmed the remains belonged to Deundrea Ford. In October 2024, authorities charged Yolan Washington with murder. At the time of his arrest, he was already in custody in Dallas on unrelated sexual assault charges. He remained in Dallas awaiting extradition. Court documents later revealed that Deundrea Ford had been listed as a witness in a 2022 capital murder case. Authorities have not confirmed whether her role as a witness is directly connected to her disappearance and death. The investigation is ongoing. The cause and manner of death have not been publicly released. No additional suspects have been named. This case involves surveillance footage, DNA evidence, a suspect with violent past, and a body discovered far from the disappearance site. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in. Deundrea Ford was a 21-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas, at the time of her disappearance. She was born in 2002 and spent most of her life in the Houston area. She had no known criminal record and was not involved in any known illegal activities. At the time she went missing, she was working as a dancer at Diva's Bikini Sports Bar and Grill, located off East Freeway in Houston. Her decision to work at the club was recent. She had only started a few weeks before her disappearance. According to available records and statements from those close to her, she took the job for financial reasons. She was trying to support herself and her young child. Deundrea was a mother of a toddler, and it is confirmed that she lived either with family members or very close to them, though the exact location of her residence has not been disclosed publicly. Those who knew her said she was focused on taking care of her child and trying to earn money through legal work. Deundrea was described by friends and family members as a quiet and private person. She was not known to seek attention or involve herself in drama or disputes. She kept a low profile. Reports suggest she was responsible, usually kept to herself, and avoided trouble. She was focused on her role as a parent and was trying to provide a better life for her son. Her choice to work as an exotic dancer was reportedly a decision made out of necessity rather than lifestyle preference. She was not involved in any ongoing disputes, relationships, or public arguments that could have created enemies. There were no public allegations or reports of domestic violence in her personal life prior to her disappearance. Investigators did not initially find anything in her background that pointed to any reason she would willingly vanish. On the night of September 21st, 2023, Deundrea Ford arrived at her workplace. Diva's Bikini Sports Bar and Grill, located along the East Freeway in Houston, Texas. It was not unusual for her to be there. She had recently started working as an exotic dancer at the club. She was reportedly trying to support her child and make a living. The club operated late into the night. As patrons came and went, security cameras outside the establishment continued to record activity in the parking lot. At some point between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. on the early morning of September 22nd, 2023, surveillance footage captured a critical moment. The footage showed Deundrea Ford entering a white Ford Transit van. The van was later confirmed to be owned and operated by Yolan J. Washington, a 51-year-old man. He had been at the club that night and was seen interacting with Deundrea. The van remained in the parking lot for approximately 1 hour after she entered it. During that time, there is no record of her exiting the vehicle or being seen again by anyone at the club. After the hour passed, the van drove off. That footage was the last verified sighting of Deundrea Ford. From that point forward, she disappeared completely. She did not contact her family, and there were no updates on her phone, bank account, or social media activity. Her cell phone pinged one last time near Greens Bayou, a location roughly 3 miles from the club. After that, her phone either lost power, was turned off, or was destroyed. Investigators later used this location as one of the early points of interest in the search for her. Back home, her family became concerned when she did not return or communicate. By the next day, they formally reported her as missing. A missing persons report was filed with local authorities. From there, initial search efforts began. Law enforcement agencies started by reviewing security footage from the club and speaking with witnesses. The white Ford Transit van stood out as the last place she was seen. Authorities quickly located the van and began collecting evidence from it. The owner, Yolan J. Washington, became a person of interest almost immediately due to his connection to the van and presence at the club that night. During the forensic inspection, authorities discovered blood-stained clothing in the vehicle. The clothing was submitted for DNA analysis, and the results showed a match with 2 individuals, Deundrea Ford and Yolan Washington. This DNA confirmation proved that both individuals had been in the van and that blood loss had occurred. However, while this finding strengthened the case, it was not sufficient to file murder charges at that time. Police explained that the presence of blood and shared DNA did not, on its own, prove intent, cause of death, or the circumstances leading to Ford's disappearance. Without the body, weapon, eyewitnesses, or confession, the prosecution risked filing charges too early without a complete evidentiary foundation. As a result, investigators moved to the next phase of the investigation, tracking the suspect's movements and expanding the search for Deundrea. Law enforcement conducted phone data analysis to trace the suspect's whereabouts. Using cellular tower pings, police mapped Washington's phone activity before and after Deundrea's disappearance. Investigators looked for inconsistencies in his movements and areas where the signal abruptly stopped or changed pattern. This kind of phone analysis is often used to identify possible dump sites or routes taken by a suspect. Based on the phone's location data, several locations were flagged for follow-up searches. Police also reviewed Washington's digital activity, including his social media usage, recent contacts, and phone call logs. Any suspicious communication, such as deleted messages, unusual phone calls, or contact with known associates, was documented and analyzed. As the investigation expanded, law enforcement coordinated with jurisdictions outside of Houston, particularly in Dallas, where Washington was known to have connections. Investigators suspected that he may have crossed county lines after the disappearance. While police followed these leads, Deundrea's family and friends took public action to raise awareness. They created and shared missing person posters across neighborhoods, gas stations, online forums, and social media platforms. Deundrea's face was circulated widely in Facebook groups and community pages. Hashtags related to her disappearance began to trend locally. The family also conducted press interviews, attended community meetings, and partnered with local activists. They urged the public to contact authorities with any information, no matter how minor. Tips from the public helped identify areas for police to search and verify Washington's recent behavior. Volunteer search teams formed in response to the growing online attention. These groups organized search events, combing wooded areas, vacant lots, and drainage ditches near Houston. Despite these efforts, no physical trace of Deundrea was found in the early weeks following her disappearance. Houston police continued monitoring Washington discreetly, without informing the public. The goal was to collect more evidence without tipping him off. Surveillance teams tracked his vehicle movements, visited his known hangouts, and documented all sightings. Every movement was logged in case it could be tied back to the disappearance timeline. Washington, at that time, had not been arrested for Deundrea's case. However, he later became involved in an unrelated sexual assault case in Dallas. His arrest in that case allowed law enforcement to re-examine his links to Ford's disappearance using the expanded DNA profile. As forensic and digital evidence slowly accumulated, authorities were still faced with the key missing element: Deundrea Ford's body. Without it, her status remained officially missing, and no homicide charges could be filed. On March 15, 2024, a utility worker was conducting routine maintenance on a culvert system in Dallas, Texas. The location was near Luna Road, a largely industrial and low-traffic area on the outskirts of the city. The worker was clearing debris from a drainage ditch when he noticed what appeared to be human bones lodged beneath a section of concrete. The bones were partially visible among the weeds, mud, and runoff trash that had collected in the culvert. He immediately contacted local law enforcement. Officers from the Dallas Police Department responded to the scene and quickly confirmed the presence of skeletal human remains. The area was secured, and crime scene investigators were called in to conduct a thorough recovery process. The remains were in an advanced state of decomposition. Initial observations indicated that the body had been there for several months. The remains were unclothed, with no visible items like jewelry, a phone, or identification found nearby. There were no bags, clothing, or personal effects, making it difficult to determine the victim's identity at the scene. Due to the state of the remains, investigators could not immediately determine the cause of death. The body was transported to the Dallas County Medical Examiner's office, where forensic anthropologists and examiners began detailed testing. The condition of the bones and the complete lack of soft tissue meant that standard autopsy procedures were not applicable. Instead, examiners relied on skeletal forensics, dental records, and DNA analysis. However, without any leads or missing persons reports directly tied to location, there was no immediate match. This caused a delay in identifying the remains. Over the following weeks, forensic teams worked to extract usable DNA. Due to environmental exposure, water, heat, and soil, examiners had to use advanced methods to recover viable genetic material. The remains were carefully cleaned, and bone samples were sent to specialized labs for mitochondrial DNA sequencing. By mid-year 2024, results from the DNA test showed partial matches to individuals in the National Missing Persons Database. Investigators compared these results to profiles from several open missing persons cases across Texas. Among the leads was a file for Deundrea Ford, a 21-year-old woman, reported missing in Houston in September 2023. At that point, forensic analysts pulled dental records from Ford's prior medical files and compared them with the skeletal dental remains. Further DNA comparison with a known relative of Ford was requested. The results confirmed a match. On September 17, 2024, the Dallas County Medical Examiner's Office officially identified the remains as belonging to Deundrea Ford. Ford had been missing for nearly a full year. She was last seen entering a white van outside Diva's Bikini Sports Bar in Houston, approximately 240 miles from where her remains were ultimately found. Authorities determined that she was likely killed elsewhere, and her body was later disposed of in the drainage culvert along Luna Road. The choice of disposal location, far from residential areas, with limited foot traffic, suggests that the body was hidden deliberately to avoid detection. The culvert's remote setting and industrial surroundings made it unlikely for anyone to come across the remains unless performing maintenance, as in this case. The fact that her body was unclothed and stripped of all identifiable items further indicates intentional concealment. There was no evidence at the scene to provide clear answers regarding cause of death or motive. Investigators did not find signs of clothing fragments, weapons, or other forensic materials nearby. Following the positive identification, law enforcement notified Ford's family and reopened the criminal investigation into her disappearance, now officially classified as a homicide. The case was transferred back to the Houston Police Department, with cooperation from Dallas County officials and Texas Rangers. By this point, investigators had already been tracking a suspect in Ford's disappearance, Yolan J. Washington, a 51-year-old man who was the last person seen with her. After the discovery and confirmation of her remains, law enforcement began connecting evidence from the van impounded months earlier, including blood-stained clothing and DNA samples, to the remains found in Dallas. The identification of Ford's body marked a major breakthrough in the case. It provided investigators with a timeline and physical evidence to support murder charges against the primary suspect. The location of the body also raised questions about premeditation, travel routes, and how long the suspect may have had possession of her remains before disposal. Despite the breakthrough, the cause and manner of death have not been publicly released. Due to the condition of the remains, it is possible the exact cause may never be confirmed. However, law enforcement now had enough forensic and circumstantial evidence to proceed with criminal charges. In January 2024, Yolan J. Washington was arrested in Dallas, Texas. However, this arrest was not initially related to Deundrea Ford's case. Washington was detained on separate sexual assault charges filed by a different woman. The charges stemmed from a different incident entirely, but this arrest would become a turning point in the Ford investigation. During the course of processing Washington's arrest and conducting forensic testing, investigators collected DNA samples from him as part of the standard procedure in sexual assault cases. These samples were uploaded to criminal databases and matched against ongoing unsolved investigations. Once Washington's DNA was submitted and cross-referenced, a positive match was made to forensic evidence recovered in the Deundrea Ford disappearance. Specifically, police had previously collected blood-stained clothing and other evidence from a white Ford Transit van that was seen on surveillance footage outside Diva's Bikini Sports Bar in Houston, the last place Deundrea Ford was seen alive on September 21st, 2023. The van had already been impounded by police months earlier as part of the initial missing person investigation. During their examination, investigators found blood samples on clothing and within the vehicle interior. However, until the match was made with Washington's newly collected DNA, the identity of the person responsible was still under investigation. The results confirmed that DNA belonging to both Deundrea Ford and Yolan J. Washington was present on the same items inside the van. This forensic discovery directly tied Washington to the scene and the victim. Further examination into Washington's background revealed a long and serious criminal record. His history included assault charges, sexual offenses, strangulation, repeated allegations of violence against women. This prior criminal record not only established a pattern of behavior, but also aligned with the nature of the evidence found in Ford's case. Authorities noted that many elements in Ford's disappearance mirrored previous actions reported in cases involving Washington. The pattern of targeting women, using force, and attempting to conceal evidence was consistent across multiple incidents in his record. Police used this background, along with the DNA and video evidence, to build a strong circumstantial and forensic case. According to surveillance footage, Ford was last seen entering a white van in the early hours of September 22, 2023, outside her workplace. The van remained in the parking lot for nearly an hour before leaving. That van was later identified as belonging to Yolan Washington. After she entered the van, Ford was never seen again. Her phone was last active a few miles from the club and then went silent permanently. Investigators used timestamps from the surveillance video, GPS pings from Ford's phone, and forensic evidence found in the van to reconstruct a timeline and determine that Washington was the last person known to be in contact with Ford. This timeline, combined with the DNA evidence, made Washington the primary suspect in Ford's disappearance. Once Ford's skeletal remains were recovered in Dallas in March 2024 and positively identified in September, the case against Washington grew stronger. Based on the DNA evidence, criminal background, timeline analysis, and the physical discovery of the victim, prosecutors in Harris County, Texas. On October 8, 2024, law enforcement authorities formally charged 51-year-old Yolan J. Washington with the murder of Deundrea Ford, a 21-year-old Houston mother who had been missing since September 2023. This charge marked a major legal development in a case that had remained under investigation for over a year. The murder charge was officially filed in Harris County, Texas, the same jurisdiction where Ford was last seen alive and where the investigation into her disappearance first began. The decision to file in Harris County was based on multiple factors, including the location of the last known sighting of the victim, the initial crime scene evidence, and where the missing person report was originally filed. Although Ford's remains were eventually discovered over 240 miles away in Dallas, Texas, the alleged criminal acts leading to her death, such as abduction and assault, are believed by investigators to have occurred in Harris County. Therefore, the legal responsibility for prosecuting the case remains with officials in Houston. As of the time of the charge in October 2024, Washington was still in custody in Dallas County Jail. He had been arrested months earlier on unrelated violent offenses, including sexual assault and aggravated assault, which led to his DNA being entered into a federal database. That DNA later matched physical evidence found in the white van he had driven the night Deundrea Ford vanished. Washington's arrest on those unrelated charges gave investigators more time to gather enough evidence for a formal murder charge. Once the match was confirmed and other investigative leads were solidified, prosecutors in Harris County moved forward with the homicide case. However, due to legal procedures involving jurisdictional transfer, Washington remained in Dallas custody awaiting extradition back to Houston to face formal court proceedings related to Ford's death. As of now, no official trial date has been announced. The timing of a trial depends on several legal steps, including the completion of the extradition process, formal arraignment in Harris County, and pre-trial discovery procedures. Once Washington is transferred to Houston custody, he will be scheduled for a hearing before a judge who will determine the legal timeline moving forward. No other suspects have been publicly named or charged in connection with Ford's disappearance and death. Authorities have not indicated the involvement of any additional individuals, either as witnesses or accomplices. However, the investigation remains open, and officials have stated that more charges may be filed in the future if evidence connects others to the case. One of the key challenges in the case is the lack of a publicly released cause of death. When Ford's skeletal remains were discovered in March 2024 in a drainage ditch in Dallas, the body was in an advanced state of decomposition. This condition has made it difficult for medical examiners to determine the exact cause and manner of death. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences has not provided a public autopsy report or confirmed whether Ford died from blunt force trauma, strangulation, gunshot wounds, or another method. Without this information, the prosecution may need to rely more heavily on circumstantial evidence, including surveillance footage, location data, DNA evidence, and witness testimony to build its case. Despite the absence of cause of death details, prosecutors believe there was sufficient probable cause to charge Washington with murder based on the totality of the evidence. This includes surveillance footage showing Ford entering Washington's white van, the van remaining in the parking lot for an extended time, her phone last pinging near a bayou shortly afterward, Washington's DNA mixed with Ford's blood on clothing found in the van, Washington's prior history of violence and assault. At this stage, the case remains in pre-trial investigation. Detectives continue to review digital records, analyze forensic data, and interview potential witnesses. Investigators have also not ruled out the possibility that Ford's status as a key witness in a separate 2022 capital murder case may have played a role in her disappearance. However, no official connection has been made between that murder case and her death. If new leads emerge or forensic evidence uncovers new connections, additional charges could be filed, either against Washington or against other individuals. Until Washington is extradited to Harris County, held in custody there, and brought before a judge, the timeline for the full trial will remain uncertain. Authorities have emphasized that while the murder charge is a major step forward, this case is still active and far from over. The legal process will continue to unfold, and further developments will depend on both the evidence already collected and any new information that arises through continued investigation. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.